In a world desperate to tear itself apart, only one man, and some other people, stand in the way of total destruction. Together they will right the wrongs, make bad, good, and single-handedly destroy evil, together. Who is this man, you may ask? This man is Jeff.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better, the show that takes one of life's little annoyances, gives him a microphone, a podcast, and a guest, and the overwhelming belief that he can just make everything better. Today, I am absolutely delighted and excited, all the way from the States, to welcome Jeristotle. Jeristotle, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. I appreciate you having me on. I'm excited to see if we can, solve the world's problems in this 45-minute segment.
That's it. One little brick at a time. We'll make
Yeah.
absolutely everything better. Let's talk about you for a little bit. So, hip hop artist, entrepreneur, not-for-profit, founder. Wow. Right?
Yeah,
That's
just
a lot.
like I don't like I don't have enough to do, right?
Busy guy. Okay, first
Yeah.
of all, let's talk about your hip hop music.
For sure, for sure. Definitely. So it's kind of crazy. It's been a long, long journey. I'll give you the shorter version, but I first started making hip hop music in college. It was just something that me and my friends did. We played music at parties, and it just was a really, really fun thing to do. And then after college, we kind of enjoyed it so much that we just kept doing it. And then at a certain point, our friends were like, "When are you going to do a show? We need you to do a show." Because we were just saying, we're just making music, we're playing it at parties, having a good old time. We weren't really thinking about doing it commercially, but our friends were like, we need you to do a show. So we ended up putting together a show. We had like 200 people come, which was crazy. We're like, oh wow,
Wow.
this actually. And then we saw like, oh, we sell tickets, we make a little money. We're like, maybe we could do this professionally. So we kept going for a couple years. We ended up opening up for a hip hop artist called Pusha T. He's pretty big. He's from
Nice.
Virginia. At the Epicenter in DC, Washington DC, and that was in front of like 5,000 people. We're an opening act.
Wow.
He's the one that brought all the people, but we got that experience,
Yeah,
and
that's still
um,
quite a thing.
yeah, it was crazy. And we're getting this feedback from all kinds of people like, man, you guys just need to keep pushing, keep pushing. And we were super stoked about it. And then life kind of happened. And my partner, because it was a hip hop duo, me and another guy, and he ended up having a child with his girl. And then, everything switched where
Yeah.
his girl, his family, they were like, what are you doing with this music thing, man? You need to like make some money. You need to like get a job, where you're an adult, get a job. So that was like, and then he just kind of had to do that. So we ended up winding the music stuff down, and he ended up getting a job. I went more the entrepreneur route, and did some business stuff that we can talk about a little bit later. But then fast forward, I think it was like 10 years later. It was going to be my 40th birthday. And I was trying to think of like what I could get people that would be a really cool, surprising gift. Cause like people are coming from all over the United States. I'm in Corpus Christi, Texas right now. So they were coming to visit me at a music venue I own. Talk about that later. And we're going to have a party there for my 40th birthday. And I was like, it'd be really cool if I just surprised these people with an album. Like, cause I hadn't released like a full album in a long time. I hadn't released any music solo really ever. So I thought it'd be a really cool gift for my friends. So it was about 4 months before the party. I was like, let me just do this. So I just started cranking out music, making music. Like I hadn't, like, it was all pent up, I think. Like I really needed to get it out, so to
Yeah.
speak. So I ended up making a 10-song album. I put it on a limited edition golden key, and then I gave it to my friends as a present that came to my party. And everybody was like, what do you mean you're giving me a present on your birthday? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. It just felt like something cool to do. So I did that, and people were listening to it and loving it. And while doing it, I just felt that, creative outlet. I think music for me is really a creative outlet to take world experiences and just put it to music and share it with people. Like there's something about that isn't replaced by anything else I do. So
Yeah.
I kind of remembered that in the process, and I was like, well, who's to say that I need to stop making music? Like maybe I should just keep making it. So then I made an agreement with myself and everybody else. I was like, I'm gonna make at least one new song per month for the rest of my life and release it on the 27th, which is the day I was born. So just do that each month on the 27th and just kind of keep doing that. So, it's probably been about 6 months since my birthday. And I've been
Wow.
doing it every time, and it's just been really, really fulfilling to do.
I love that. I
Yeah.
love that thought of, obviously you had the momentum in the early days, and yet life gets in the way. And I appreciate obviously what you kind of the former partner must have been going through that moment when you kind of got to make that decision. I think it's terribly unfair to say you've got to grow up and get it, because that's that I think that's unfair. I think that's belittling the that kind of creative
Yeah.
experience and what someone puts into it. It's not immature to have a dream. I was 35, I think, when I started thinking, oh, hang on, what do I want to do? And things like stand-up comedy and writing books and now this.
Yep.
And so I totally understand where you come from, but I love that you wait for 10 years and then you surprise everyone. I know it's no, you're doing it for you. You're doing it to get that creativeness out, and because I do think with people who have a talent, people who have a gift and something that they love doing in a creative format, you can feel like you're going to explode, right? You can feel like you're going to
Yeah,
burst.
definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I think it's like you have to do it at some point. I have this like theory that for creatives, if a person is like a creative person and they're not creating, then that positive creative energy turns negative and they start
Mm,
doing things like being addicted to substances and, different kind of
yeah,
addictive behaviors. I think it like kind of if you don't use it, it just kind of changes on you and you almost are trying to like stifle it,
yeah,
or quiet it down by like numbing agents and other activities. And I
yeah,
think it's just like the only real healthy way is to create stuff. That's the only thing to do with that energy.
yeah. And I think, and I mean, not to get like too deep too quick, but you can see that in famous people and some famous people and how they live their lives of
Yep.
kind of maybe rocking too hard or I think
Yep.
mental health and all that stuff. But that there's time to talk about all that. But no, okay, congratulations and keep putting it out. I was having a little listen before you came on, and
Oh, nice.
like that I am. I kind of grew up in a lovely little fishing village in the south of England, right? But I had I think it came from like my cousin who was a proper London lad, and he had the white
Nice.
Mercedes with the tinted windows, and he enjoyed a lot, listened to an awful lot of um R&B, hip hop. So I despite being so far away from it, the Tupac, Biggie. I mean, I suppose some names these days that we can't really bring up. Um, but Aaliyah and Missy Elliott and NWA, like it's Wu-Tang. Like it was more to me than I suppose the pop and indie culture that was around in that kind of I suppose the 90s when I was kind of hitting that teenage years. Um, and I mean, you got talent. I mean, I'm no expert, but I liked it. So that's
Awesome. Yeah, that's
so
kind of
for
what
me,
I like. I really like when people who don't only listen to hip hop listen to my music and like it.
yeah,
I think that's like 'cause I think there's really good music. I think expands beyond just the genre, and like that's one of my favorite things to do is create music that people just enjoy because
yeah,
it speaks more. Well, or my I'm trying to do is speak more to the human experience in general than just the genre itself. And I
yeah,
think that's what like really connects music with people is when you kind of can feel yourself inside of the music as a listener. It like connects to like your life experience.
yeah,
And I think that's kind of what I aim for.
yeah. I mean, people say, "Oh, what's your favorite song?" And for me personally, it depends on not only my mood but also the time of day.
Yep.
how am I feeling? Do I want to be nostalgic? Am I looking at something for now? Am I, different moments of, I don't know, my children's lives? Like what? Like it's impossible. Like, yeah,
Exactly.
like a soundtrack to my life would be, oh, anything from Queen to Tupac to, I don't know, a bit of classical, because there was a time in my life when I could afford about 5 hours sleep a night, and I had to put something on to be able to do that.
Yep.
But hey, right, okay, no, that's fantastic. We're gonna make sure the all of your links are in the bio. What we do,
Sweet.
let's touch on your entrepreneurship now, and then we'll go on to the not for profit at the end of the show, so people can hear what we're looking to make better. But talk to us about that entrepreneurship.
Awesome. So basically, during the hip hop phase, when I first started making music after college, I felt like Batman and Robin, not Batman and Robin, Batman and Bruce Wayne,
Right.
where like at day I was working in a office, I worked at a bank, I worked at a government military base doing IT stuff, like a IT guy, worked at a web development firm. So I had all of these like office style jobs. And then at nighttime, I was off making music with my friend, which is like the complete opposite, you know? So it's like living these like two different lives. And then after that, I kind of broke away and started doing more web development. Because I was like, if I could do this for this company, then all I need to do is get some clients and I can do it for myself. And
Yeah.
I just don't like having to go to a 9 to 5 office, like, because I feel like if you work fast, you can get things done faster than like you'd have to sit there for 8 hours. And I was working on a computer, so I could just do that from anywhere. And I just didn't like the having to be in the office part. Over after a while, that really just got on my nerves. So I was like, I don't want to do that anymore. So that's why I started the freelance web development stuff. And that went really well, man. And I was just doing that, building websites, helping people with their digital marketing, learning digital advertising, SEO, and all that stuff. And just applying what I learned through different companies, but also I ended up applying it to the music career a little bit as well, just learning how you promote a brand, how do you promote
Yeah.
yourself, how do you get new listeners, like using the power of the internet and those kind of things. So I really think I learned a lot from my hobby, so to speak, on how to really pursue an entrepreneurship career because like I think music, or if you want to be a commercially successful artist, now you're in business. Like you have to, it's a
Yeah.
business. You can't not treat it like a business and be successful for the large part. And I
Yeah.
think that's what a lot of artists struggle with, honestly, is the business side of their creativity.
Yeah. You hear an awful lot. Yeah, I'm a music artist, not a businessman.
Yep.
And those are the ones that struggle a bit, because it's promoting a brand. You got to be
Yep.
a salesman, either that or pay big money for a team to do it for you, and that comes with its own pitfalls and everything as well.
Yep.
But and kind of, so that's kind of brought you to now.
Yep. So it's kind of crazy because like I was in Virginia for a little bit and then I kind of life kind of imploded everything, like the relationship kind of went south, and this is all right when me and my friends stopped making music. I feel like it
Hmm.
was the thread that was holding everything together, and pull that out, and then the relationship didn't seem as awesome. My web development job didn't seem as awesome. And I was like, I had saved up some money, and so I was like, I just need to do something else. So some of my fraternity brothers were opening up a business in Corpus Christi, Texas. It was actually a food truck called Munchies. It was like a weed themed food truck. So it was pretty funny. So like everything was like, it's called like the OG Kush was a sandwich, and the Cubano Kush and the OG Philly Mac, and like just different weed themed sandwiches. Everybody loved it. So I ended up driving down to help them and help them with their marketing, their digital marketing, their web development presence, and kind of like organizing the business a little bit. So we did that. That was successful for a couple years, and then we ended up rolling it into a music venue in the downtown area, and that's been going on for the last 8 years so
Oh
far.
wow.
So it's been really, really cool. So in that time, I wasn't doing music, but I always kind of found myself around artists and musicians that just like by a byproduct of who I am as a person, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I was getting to live like by proxy for a long time of like helping artists out and having them play and talking to people here and there about how they can brand themselves and that kind of stuff. So I got to do that through the music venue, and that kind of got me to the point of where I am right now, which is starting the nonprofit. And we can dive into that if you don't have any other questions about the business side, which I could probably talk about forever.
No, it's fantastic. The fact that you just almost just drawn to that environment, kind of,
Yeah,
which I suppose, depending on your, someone's belief system, is kind of meant to be. Like, you're meant to
yeah,
be having, because also you're helping them with their kind of the brand side of marketing, but you're also learning from them. You seem to me like someone who absorbs
mm,
kind of from people around you, and yeah, so you're kind of, I suppose you were where you're meant to be, and that kind of led into you redoing your music, and probably an easier jump than if you had stayed at a bank or web develop, kind of went a different
yeah,
route. At one point you could have thought, God, I really wish that I could make music, but all of a sudden there's that barrier to it. So, oh, fantastic! And yeah, we'll talk about the not for profit. Let's make some stuff better. And then yes, we'll talk not for profit. Before I let you get on with your day. So,
yep.
Jeristotle, a man with 1,000 hats. What is it that we're making? What is it that we're making better today?
Yeah, so what I want to do, and this is, listening to the story so far, it kind of makes sense why I want to do this, but I didn't know at the time. This is all looking in retrospect, right? So my big thing is like if I really could, I'd like a time machine where this existed when I was first becoming an artist, but I don't have a time machine. So the second best thing I can think of is I want to help artists um be able to tell their families or for their families to believe that art is a real job. I really think that there's not very much infrastructure built around that right now. And it's kind of everybody's trying to make a profit off of art being a real job.
Hmm.
And I think that kind of limits it a bit. So I really do think, I mean, from we have like data, we have examples in so many different ways of people who have been commercially successful. And I don't think you need to make $100 million.
Mm.
If you could make $100,000 as an artist per year, that would change. You would love that.
Yeah,
You would be super excited for that. And I think that if done correctly, artists can do that.
yeah. You don't need to be Taylor Swift selling out tour after tour if you can live happily and comfortably doing something that you love. What's wrong with that?
Exactly.
What's wrong with
I think
that?
that's I think that should be the goal, especially as like life progresses and like technology becomes more and more commoditized. I think like the thing that separates us from the machines is the ability to be creative. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And machines can create off of prompts, but we are the thing that gives the prompt, We are the origination of the creation. What comes in our mind is what ends up happening. And I think that that's the unique skill set that humans have, and artists are kind of the tip of the spear on that.
yeah. No, I agree, and I, th- I this is what frustrates me is that it seems to like a taboo subject. Like, if you're creative, especially if you're I don't know, maybe I say it's because it's me, but if you're over what 30, 35, 40, and upwards, and you're getting into be like really trying to flesh out your dream and seeing what it could be. I started
Yep.
this podcast when I was, I think, 40.
Nice.
And it is, don't get like, and you see the memes, what does a 40-year-old white guy do with their time? They have a podcast. Like, it's it's
Right,
the
right.
I am the joke of, yeah, the or the punchline to that joke. But it's because I think there's that's because too many people are too afraid to follow a
Yep.
dream or
Yep.
to express their creative side. And a lot of people will make fun of someone or say, "Oh, get a real job," or why are you wasting your time, or whatever it is,
Yep.
because they haven't quite found the strength within themselves to make a step into, well, actually, I really like drawing or painting
Yeah.
or
Yep.
something, and actually, I want to do something and show it off to the world. And
Yeah.
that then creates this barrier that you're talking about of, like, well, you've got to get 9 to 5 because that's what people do.
Yep.
You're Yeah, you're an adult, you work 9 to 5 or longer, shorter, whatever it is, and there's, I don't know, this negative connotation around it, and that
Yeah,
shouldn't
I,
be.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I think it is a lot of fear based. Like people are scared. Like what is different scares people a lot of times. And also when you're doing something and trying to do something, you're shining a light that they might not be doing it. So as opposed to face their own fears of doing what they love or they might want to do like for a living or inject more creativity into their life, it's easier for them to just make fun of what you're doing or kind of try to bring you down to their
Yeah,
level as opposed to rising up to meet you on the level that you're ascending to. You know what I mean? I think that's the way it is because the only other option is to be like, man, he's doing something awesome and I'm too scared to do it.
yeah.
And nobody wants to have that conversation with themselves. You know what I mean? I think that's really what it comes down to. And it's unfortunate because in reality, they probably would be happier following something that they love. And you don't have to do it for money. Just do it
No,
because you like doing it. I think that's enough, you
yeah.
know, and sharing it with people. I mean, it's cool. Creativity is meant to be shared. Things are meant to be shared, you know. So I think like making stuff, sharing it, showing that you're doing something, and then somebody might be like, "That's awesome, dude. That picture's really cool. Like that picture helped brighten my day." So I almost think it's like not an obligation, but a responsibility. If you're a creative person that can make things that are interesting, it's almost a responsibility of yours to create and share it with other people because you're going to help their lives. Like you're going to make their lives better. And to not do that, I think not sharing your creativity is a very selfish thing to do, I think.
It Yeah. Oh, we have, so guests on the show. We've had, yeah, music artists, we've had authors, directors, yeah, and it's all these people that have these. It's generally creatives. We've had some special. We've had some charity people who've kind of created charities and things as well. But that main thing is putting it well. But I'd say here's a quite like a question. Younger you been making music and putting it out there compared to, yeah, then after that kind of 10-year break, are you putting out there?
Hmm.
Did you have the same confidence second time
Um,
around, or was there a
uh,
part of you?
so the first part around, I think I had more arrogance than confidence to be fully honest.
Yeah,
Like I think I had never lost in life really. I mean, I didn't grow up rich or anything, but everything I tried to do, I pretty much accomplished. Like
yeah,
I was a go-getter getting it. I had never really, really massively failed. And then, with the music partnership breaking up, long-term relationship breaking up, like the job thing kind of fizzling out, like that humbled me a lot. So through that 10-year period, that this was ups and downs, left and rights, valley, living in the desert mentally, it was just a
yeah.
lot going on. Like it was not an easy 10 year that got me to this point. I had no idea what I was going to be doing, honestly. I was just trying things out and trying to you know what I mean? So like that was a long period. But after I made music the second time, um I think part of the I had was because I was making it for my friends and I knew
Yeah.
they were gonna love anything I did. Like I really wanted to like break open my soul and make the most amazing thing that I could make. but it was for my friends. So I'm like, I wasn't worried about it. I knew they were going to like it. I didn't know they're going to like it as much as they did like it, right? But I knew that nobody was going to be like, you shouldn't be making music. You're old. Immediate group of friends. So, and then their reaction interesting because the first time we made it music, it was for our friends, and this time it was also for my friends. So
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that until just now. That's kind of a uniting factors. Like I've never felt like doing this. I've been doing this by myself. I've always felt like a group of support. At least like, a group of 50 to 100 people that are down with what you're doing. Like that's enough, really. So I think that's part of the where the confidence comes from is like outside of that group, nobody might like it, but I know those people are going to like it.
Yeah.
So I think that's where some of that confidence comes from. And then once they loved it and like we're feeling it, I'm like, oh, cool. Maybe I should just share this with more people. So I think that's one of the strongest pieces is that I have an initial group of friends who are also fans that are going to support what I
Yeah.
do. And I think that's a really important thing for artists is community is developing a sense of community around what they're doing. I think just makes it better and more fun, if nothing else.
Yeah. If everyone needs someone, everyone needs positive people in their life. And
Yep,
listen,
a hundred percent.
there's those two sides of people. There's what we mentioned earlier, those who are maybe jealous, just they're not in a place within their life journey where they
Yep,
can unlock their or creativity or the and but there's some people who just are there. Like
yep.
it's great. So yeah, my wife, she loves that this podcast makes me happy.
Mm,
Like like she doesn't listen to it, but
right, right.
that's not because that's not because it's she doesn't support. I mean, she's not a big podcast listener, but it's because she knows it's for me. Like
Yeah, yeah. That's
I've
cool.
spread my life for so long for my wife, children, working that 9 to 5, paying
Yep.
bills, that she's like, this is your part of the world. And if you want me in part of it, she's been on the show.
Nice.
Um, if if I say that I need you to do it, she's going to listen to it, and she'll be brutally
Yeah,
honest with me. Um,
nice.
my stepdad randomly he'll listen to every single episode, and he gives me okay a little message. Just listen to this one. It was yeah. He'll be constructive, but
Give you the feedback.
always positive. Yeah, always positive. He's a
Yeah,
great
I
guy.
love that.
Um, and there's a few friends who don't always tell me when I see them. They're like, oh, I listened
Yeah,
to this episode, listen to that episode. But I
right,
know there's a core group of people who don't listen to it, and that's okay because maybe it's not their thing,
right.
and I just don't talk about it. But I think that's also I suffer hugely with imposter syndrome,
Mm,
and saying to people when people say, "Oh, how's it going?" It's always played down and then move on to the next thing. But
yeah, yeah,
because I can just put this on the internet, but you're kind of in it and you're about it and you're handing over the music to people that you obviously trust. It's and that's incredibly brave. And
mm,
I've got this thing for people who can put on a show and just hang out their kind of their creativity and say, look at this. I hope you like it. Um, because any kind of negative feedback, and I would crumble. Like
yeah, yeah.
how like how
That's
did like you're making
yeah. I
music
think that's
monthly?
Yeah, that's a big deal. Like I think like especially as an older artist, like some of the initial feedback I because I submit my music to playlists and stuff like that. I didn't really know this, but like my sound is a little bit nostalgic. Like it
Mm,
is reminiscent of the 90s,
yeah,
2000s, like that vibe because that's when I grew up making or listening to music, that's what really influenced my style and it's not that time period anymore. It's 2024. So someone was like, "Yeah, this is like good." But it's like kind of nostalgic. Like we're aiming more towards the new age music. And I'm like, at first I was like, it kind of hit deep. I'm like, I can make music still, but it wasn't like a hey, your stuff's not good. It's just like, hey, this isn't right for this playlist. And I'm like, okay. But then like, final like this is hip hop music. I'm tired of the older stuff or the newer stuff. Like I love your sound. It sounds reminiscent of original sound, but also like cutting edge. So I think really finding your tribe again, like with the community, helps build a sense of confidence, and also the understanding that you're only creating for the people who like what you create. You're not all the people who don't like it, you're not making it for them.
Yes.
Like that's the biggest thing is like everything isn't for everybody. And knowing that, then being like, you're not like, oh, my stuff's bad. It's like, oh, I just haven't found the audience for my stuff yet.
Yes.
And
I
then, you know,
I definitely, because you see it, and online as well, like it's everywhere. Like
oh yeah.
over here, I mean, I assume she's probably doing well in the States. Sabrina Carpenter
Yeah, yeah.
is she's been number one in the UK chart for 9, 10 weeks or something.
Mm,
And I kind of listen. I was like, oh, the music's pleasant, but I don't see why it's been number one for so long. Like with music, no, if it changes. Number one's changed so rapidly now because it's all streaming and things. So I kind of put it down to when I was younger. I Would Always Love You by Whitney Houston was like 16 weeks
yeah.
at the top of the UK chart. Now that's
Nice.
that's like big. That's a big
Right,
song. Sabrina Carpenter Taste
right,
being there for
right.
10 weeks, right? Brian Adams, Everything I Do It For You was like 14 weeks. And you kind of, I'm looking at these newer songs. I'm thinking, how are these staying there? But then I said, yeah, it's very nice, but it's not my cup of tea. But I'm
Yeah,
obviously not the demographic.
right,
So
right,
I won't sit there and complain that she's doing well, or this is what is this, because I'm not the demographic. Good luck.
right.
Like, obviously
Yeah.
going out there, people seem to really like her personality and do what she's doing. Go get it.
Yep.
Like, fantastic. And not enough people realize that if they don't like something, it's because it's not aimed at them.
Yeah, exactly.
They'll
Yep.
listen, they'll judge, but it's only based on their own preferences and experiences. And so, well, no, it's okay. It's just it's not for you. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
you know,
that's the thing.
if
I think
if you
it's yeah, for sure.
if you don't like girl band pop music, then don't listen to a girl band pop music. Or K-pop's like massive at the moment. It's not my kind of thing, but they're doing it, and and they've got these kind of radicalized fan bases, and people who are, I don't know, probably similar to my age and my upbringing. They think, well, I don't understand it. Well, you're not meant to. It's
Yeah,
because it's
exactly.
not for you.
Yep. Yep,
And
definitely.
more people need to realize that. Would you rather? No, I was going. Oh, no, don't you know what, that was going to be a terrible. I was going to say, would you rather make money, but your kind of core base of people not like it? Like, okay, what would it take for you to become a bit more mainstream if there was that chance? If the olive branch was handed to you and said, "Look, I'll give you that kind of love your sound, love your vibe. We just need to change the music." Would you do it to kind of chase the dream of success, or would you kind of, because I think a lot of people would say no, but actually would mean yes.
I think a lot of people would say yes and would not know what they were saying.
Hmm.
So I had a taste of this when we were doing concerts. We made a song. It was called Hands in My Pockets. It was a catchy song, but it wasn't my favorite song. Now, the crowd loved it.
Yeah,
So we ended up having to play that song every show. So multiply, and it was a good song. I liked the song, but I didn't love the song.
yeah,
Now multiply that times music you don't even like. Like if you're making stuff you don't even enjoy and you're finding success, all success means is you're gonna have to do that 100 times more than you're doing it right now.
yeah,
So you're gonna have to play all this music all the time that you don't even like. You might develop a drinking problem and a substance abuse problem. You might like want to kill yourself, like
yeah,
literally, like you're doing all this stuff you literally hate that's not true to you as a person. That's the key. I think whenever you're doing art commercially and it's not true to you as a person, then you get in a bad mental situation
yeah,
because now you're just chasing the idea of a dream and it's not even your dream. This is a lie of your dream. So I think that's a very dangerous place to be. And I think that happens all the time, honestly. Like
Yeah.
I think a lot of people end up getting signed and they're like, yeah, we like this, and this, but let's cut all that and we need you to fit in this latest trend that's going on and stick yourself in there. And then people end up getting successful off of stuff they don't even like. And then that is, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I know, because I've, I'm a creative. I've got the podcast. I've done the like, I know there's a place for literally just my mouth, like just the sound that comes out. I'm not quite sure where it is. But I'm kind of one of these people that I will sell out in a heartbeat. Like if someone says,
Yeah.
Jeff, we want you to do a Dr. Phil type show, I'd be like, oh, I've hated those shows for 20 years. Where do I sign and how big's the check? Like, like yeah, that's fine. I'll do it. But I think you're right though. I think it would be a case of very quickly just hating.
It's like how nice is your prison? Like
Oh,
that's
I
like
love that.
that's a like it's like a really nice prison, but it's still a prison.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, yeah,
Oh.
yeah, I want to go outside. It's like, well, you can't. Like, so
Yeah.
how do and then that's what I think you end up building is a nice, very comfortable, very plush prison for yourself. And the other thing people don't understand is like, hey, if you have no leverage and somebody's giving you a lot of money, there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, hey, here's $1 million fine print that you're gonna need to pay us back times 10 on the back end. Like that's the whispering,
Yeah.
then you're out here spending your $1 million, didn't realize you owed like, 45% of that to the government for taxes, and you only actually have $600,000 to spend, and you spend $500,000, and then you decide to buy your mom a house, and now you have $10,000.
Yeah.
And you owe the label like 5 million after it's all said and done.
You
So
just
what
have to
now?
keep
So
on.
what
Yeah.
now? Now you hop on that treadmill and you do whatever the I say for the rest of your career.
Yeah.
And if you don't make the money back, or even if you kind of make the money back but not enough of it, I'm just gonna drop you and I own everything you've done. Like that's the real picture. You know what I mean? That's what
Yeah.
really happens. And that it would be nice if that was an exaggeration, but it's really not, especially in the music industry. Like, so I think people don't know what they're saying yes to a lot of times.
I flippantly say, what's how big's the check and where do I sign? But I do think, I think there's a part of me that is serious when I say that, but there's also
Mm,
that conscious mind which completely gets what you're saying. And as soon as you hand over, but I think that's why you see so many artists these days, like before you've even heard of them, they've already kind of set up their own label and
mm,
they're doing it for themselves because they understand from the people who have come before, some of the biggest acts in the world, just okay, they're not, don't get me wrong, they're not poor, they're not struggling, but the money they have generated compared to the money they have is such a small percentage because
yep.
everyone's got a hand in their pocket. Everyone's got their kind of chunk of the pie. And actually, even when it comes to creative rights and things like that, it's just so, I suppose, so difficult because those are the people who said, yeah, I will sign anything on this bit of paper because I
Right.
want that fame and I want my time in the spotlight. And then they realize, oh, 10 years down the line, oh, I have just been churning out corporate kind of rubbish, or not, maybe not rubbish, but just not what they wanted, not what they started in the industry for.
Right.
So it seems so many artists now, just starting that label themselves, and kind of keeping more of it for themselves, which I think is fantastic.
So what do you like in your mind, like if you had the best case scenario, like you're saying, I would sign this check. Like what would your like perfect situation be if you could imagine one?
So I mean, for me, I I I'd love creating. I love the creative process. I mean, my goal, and there's some things coming up in 2025. I'm setting up an indie podcast festival almost. So it's going to be a virtual festival. There's 3 UK and 3 US podcasters, all
Nice.
independents, different genres, and I'm setting it up, and it's going to be streamed live, 6 hours of these 6 different shows, and that's the kind of thing that I want to be in a position where I can help others build.
Awesome. Yeah, that's cool.
So whilst I love doing podcasts myself, for me, I would love to be in a position where I could say, right, I'm putting on this event. Let's showcase people.
Nice.
And whether I'll be in a position to be able to do that, full time or whatever, I don't know. But that would be nice to have that platform. If it meant me signing away my soul and churning out Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better for 10 years, even if I wasn't completely happy with the direction of it, I don't know, maybe I would, as long as my family is secure and I can also do what I want to do. Maybe. I don't know. It's a difficult
I
one.
guess I guess it's like what's your options too, right? Like if it's like I have a 9 to 5 job that I do, and somebody's saying, I'll give you more money than you make in your 9 to 5 to do the thing that you like anyway, but it has to be like this.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that.
Yeah. I know, because I'm quite lucky as well, because if this was my job,
Hmm.
it's generally me just pretending like I know what I'm doing and what I'm talking about, right?
Isn't that life? That's life, right?
Yeah. But like the guest, this is the show's all about the guest, and guest does most of the talking, and it's me just generally being inquisitive. Like you have like talent. Like I can't I I always wanted to be able to sing. Like one day
Mm,
when I don't know, a long time from now, I'm going to take singing lessons just because I want that talent, not to
yeah.
do anything with it, but just that you have a talent,
Mm,
and it is a case of that right situation, right time, right. That's the kind of position that you're in. I just there's a million, 10 million, 100 million people on the planet who can talk nonsense into a microphone. So I've got to do this for the love, but I'm so lucky that the guests that come on the show do. Like I said, there's comedians, authors, directed, like people doing something and doing something serious, and that's kind of, I suppose, in a small way, what I'd like to do on a bigger scale of help elevate people, and their creativity and what they're doing, which is nice.
I think one of the things too though is like I think you owe yourself a little bit more credit. You say this is your third season of doing this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, like most people, most podcasts, I think the statistic is like most podcasts, like 75% of them don't have any more than 5 episodes.
yeah,
So the fact that you've been doing it consistently is a big deal. And the fact that you care enough to talk about other people consistently to help them elevate themselves, that's also a big deal.
yeah,
Like these are things that aren't common traits in people. Consistency and caring enough about other people to have a show that's about other people, not a show that's about me. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
I think that's the biggest thing. One of the biggest things that people do is, and I think this is a byproduct of our time. Like we can see everybody's bank account essentially. Like how many views does this have? How many views does that have? How much is this? Who's sponsoring that? Like we just have so much information that we have easy access to, that even if we don't want it, we see it,
yeah,
that we start judging ourselves versus the 0.01% instead of against the actual reality of where we are. Like in the world of podcasting, you're like top 10%,
yeah,
really, right? Like, like realistically, like out of there's so many dead podcasts out there. If you took all those podcasts and then took the people that are actively making podcasts, not talking about viewers and not talking about whatever, but you're still doing it. Like you have survived, outlasted 90% of people who've done podcasts. You know what I mean? So like when you
yeah,
really break it down and stop comparing yourself with the elite, like the unicorns of the world,
Yeah.
then you kind of have a more understanding of where you actually are. And where you are is a great place. You're doing a great job. And that's just facts. This is not a hype session. This is math.
I'm
You
really
know what I mean?
enjoying this, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. This is just
This is
straight
good for
math.
me.
You know what I mean? This is just really straight math,
Yeah.
mathematically. And I'm a very analytical person. I like to look at like the numbers of things, and like mathematically, you're doing better than 90% of people who have ever done a podcast.
Yeah.
So like, congratulations. Like that's pretty good. You know what I mean? So keep doing better. Doesn't mean you rest on your laurels, but like that's a big deal. If you look at I like to call it my project graveyard of all the things that I've started
Oh
and
yeah.
never finished. It's oh yeah, it's I stand on top of all of my past failures. That's why I've reached so high. So you know.
Definitely.
So yeah,
I
so like,
I am
that's
with you.
yeah.
I am so with you on that one. Like
Yeah.
I could make a very and that's the thing though. As a creative, you keep that you keep trying, and I sometimes I don't look at them as failures. Just, do you know what? This isn't the right time for it to be
Hmm.
finished or completed or successful or whatever it is. Like,
Yeah.
so, rather than a graveyard, just, put in the garage, just out the way for now. But at some point, I'll open the door and it'll fall out, hit me on the foot. I think, "Do you know what? Like the amount of quarter, half, one page, books and scripts and things like stand-up comedy that I was when I did that, it was for fun, and I got to a point of, I'd been paid a couple of times, and I thought either I have to start gigging 3, 4 times a week to really to get better and to do something, or I have to pack it in, because all I'm doing at the moment is putting pressure on myself to write new material for that I can't perfect, and a
Mm,
couple of times a month maybe, or once a week. And so I kind of had to shelve it. But one day I'd love to, because we're all these days we're all one viral clip away from a Netflix documentary, right?
right.
That special, right?
Right.
Um, which is one of the good things. I think some people think it's a bad thing, but it it's well, I suppose it's two sides, isn't it? It's almost easier to get fame these days because of social media, TikTok, and all these things. But that also saturates the market more with
Yep.
people trying. So maybe it's still as equally difficult, despite the fact it's at a different end of the spectrum. I've kind of gone off on some weird thought process right now, so
No, yeah, no,
hopefully it
I think
makes
that's a
sense.
no. No, I think that's a really interesting like conversation to have, is like, is it better when you really didn't have the potential or access to get fame, and now it's like more of a lottery where I can make something, but it's in the pool of all these other people who are making stuff, and will it rise through the top and cut through the noise because it's so saturated? I tend, and I'm biased because I'm a digital marketer, so I'm like, I think that the ability to be famous is becoming democratized essentially.
Yeah.
But like before, you had to know people, get through the gates, do all this other stuff.
Serve
Where
your time.
now, yeah, now you have a cell phone, and your a cell phone is better than the TV cameras back in the day, and you can make amazing content very affordably. And now it's like, I mean, there's a lot of different variables, but if you have a little disposable budget and you make really good content and you understand how to make good content for the platform that you're making it for, you have the potential to cut through some of that noise. And I think that it's you have to learn a lot of skill sets that
Yeah.
you might not have wanted to learn necessarily, but I think it's more accessible than it was before. And I think, and again, you don't need a million, people that love you. You need have you ever heard of the 1,000 True Fan Theory
No?
by Kevin? I can't think it's Kevin. I can't remember Kevin something. But basically, he was like, in order to be a successful creative, you just need 1,000 true fans who love what you do that are willing to pay you $100 a year for something that you offer. 1,000 people, $100 a year, that's $100,000 a year. And that, if you look at it mathematically like
Yeah.
that, 1,000 people is not a lot. That's not on the internet. There's 1,000, and we're going from our local market, like you said, you're from a small town. Like now, you don't have to worry about your small town. You have a global market that you can
Yeah.
market to. So it's like out of all the people, let's just say in your country, if you can find 1,000 of them that just really, really like what you do, like you could make $100,000 a year with your creativity. Now, how do you go about doing that? That's just, tactics at that point. But if you just kind of move forward with that understanding, then seems way more attainable. And then if you can get 1,000, you probably can get 10,000, but that's a separate conversation, right? So like, and you just get that 1,000, and now you actually have money to fund your creativity, and you
Yeah.
just keep using it to, if you want to grow, then you invested in growth. And I think that really breaking things down in that like bite-sized pieces, how do you get, how can I do this? How can I get famous? How can I whatever? It's like, well, let me try. I need one fan at a time is how you can do it. The internet tries to look at you as like, how do I get 10,000 views or a million views on this? Is like, well, if you get 20 views and 10 of those people love it so much that they like want to keep following you, and you just keep doing that, keep doing
Yeah.
it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And it becomes like a consistency game. And you can almost like measure your growth incrementally versus being like, man, I'm not getting X, I'm not getting Y, because nobody gets that when they start. And even if they've been doing it for a while, like where I'm at right now in life, I'm like, if I don't want to be doing something for like the next 10 years, I'm not even going to do it now
Yeah.
because I understand that you have to invest. And as you invest in what you're doing, it's actually not the result that's being built, it's you that's being built. You are the result. Like you starting out a podcast, the first episode, I guarantee you is not this episode. You know what I mean? I guarantee you've grown over that time. So you doing the episodes wasn't so you would get a million views. It was so you'd become a better podcaster. And now you're a better
Yeah.
podcaster, and a better podcaster has a better effort or building ourselves up. Like we are the product of our effort. And from there, that increases our likelihood of the success that we want. So instead of going from one to a million, you'd have to go one to two, and then two to four, and then four to, it's incremental development. So I think people are almost looking too big at first.
So I have three things to say, and then we need to go into making this better. The first is I could listen to you all day. Just oh,
I
but
appreciate that.
you're speaking my language, and I think the language of a lot of people, and you make it make sense. And
Nice.
I was just listening to everything you just said, and it's just it clicks and it ticks, but also, yeah, there's times when you're putting out a product that
Mm,
or like maybe it's an ego thing, but yeah, I believe in this podcast. I like it. I think some episodes are better than others, but that's fine. Sometimes I'm not on my game, or sometimes the guest isn't um quite as enthused about it as I. It's fine. There's variables,
mm,
and you think, God, you know what? This episode deserves recognition, and
mm,
then sometimes doesn't get it, and it can be really difficult to pick up the microphone the next time. Yeah, this is easy. I'm not going to say to anyone, "No, it's not easy," because that really diminishes it. It's For me, it's not difficult to pick up the microphone and talk to someone because I love talking to people. um, but you can reach a point where it's is it worth it? And
right.
actually, right, and because sometimes it's judged on, yeah, money or time or listens or whatever it is. But everything you just said resonates so hard that, you know what? It's like that second wind. And I'll be listening to this episode whenever I need that little, pick me up and push. Like I was going to say touch so many parts of me, but that's going to be wrong. Has ticked so many of those boxes that I need to hear it, at times. And I think a lot of
Right.
creatives do.
Yep.
That's the first thing. I can't remember the second thing, but I'm going to say you need to write a book about. Oh no, I know what I was going to say. So obviously we're introduced by the No Streetlights podcast guys. Now
Yep.
everyone
Those guys are
listens to
awesome.
yeah, absolutely done to bits. Um, everyone go and listen to their show. I've been on their show. They've been on mine. In fact, they were there earlier this season. But I can see why that you clicked with those guys, because again, the conversations they have, you're taking it. So that's a little shout out to them, because I'm going to have to thank them for introducing us. And third of all, obviously everything we've spoken about, none of that does explain Hock Turgo.
Yeah. That's the dark side of the web.
But hey,
Yeah.
she got hers, she earned from it, fantastic. But as someone who puts in time and energy into a craft, and then you see just that complete freak rise. But
Yeah.
no, yeah, she seems like a cool girl, and has gone out and monetized the hell out of that, the 15 minutes. So I think old me would have been pretty jealous over
Mm,
that. But I'm like, hey, do you know what? She's having a time, or had a time. I'm not quite sure where she is with it. $100,000 podcast, I believe, is the last thing. The last thing
right,
I heard.
right. And that's the
Um,
tough thing that is like, and that's where I mean kind of by comparing ourselves with the unicorns is tough because that's what gets all the attention. Everybody's looking at it, you see it, but it's like equivalent to playing the lottery,
yeah,
It just that doesn't happen. That's not the norm. It's just, and I think I don't know, like I don't sometimes I wonder if the things that we wish for, we even want. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, oh, I wish that I had this thing that went crazy viral. And what if it's something that you don't even like, like about, or something that like
yeah,
you misquoted something or missaid something, and then somebody clipped you saying that,
yeah,
and then just which is what happened to her essentially. Like, I mean, she flipped it and made it money, but she could have. I mean, she honestly had no choice because she's never going to get a job again. She's not going to get unless it's referencing that. She probably can't work anywhere.
yeah,
Like, you know what I mean?
yeah.
So that's a thing. Like, and she's never gonna not, you know what I mean? Maybe in 5 years, 10 years, when everybody forgets about it. But like,
And she's aged a little
she,
bit.
yeah, she needs to dye her hair, maybe, like something, like because maybe she needs to change her name or something. Like that's the internet can damage a person's reputation
Yeah,
irreparably very quickly. So, I'm happy she's making money off of that because all of her other prospects are dried up, I'm sure.
very, very, very true. And again, a very positive way. Yeah, a positive way to spin to spin that. She had absolutely no choice. Um, Look, just like this. This is just I could go forever,
I
because I think you're such an interesting person. I do want
appreciate
to
that.
I do want to talk about how we're gonna um make this better, and then talk about the not for profit as well. So right, so this. I mean, to be fair, we've kind of I don't know if we've strayed. Everything's all kind of it's been around around the subject.
Mm,
Yeah, we're talking about this. Why we're starting to talk about why creatives, you should be expected to sacrifice what they love, for your regular 9 to 5, and why can't it be the 9 to 5? So what for you? How does it get made better?
So I think to start, if I heard this online. I think it was from a creator called La Russell, who's an independent hip hop artist, but he's done a really great job of just creating a fan base, creating a community around his music. And he's a very inspiring person. And he's younger too. I think he's like maybe 26 or something. So he's done a really good job of doing this. But what he said, he was like, if you're a creative, then you should think of your 9 to 5 as your first investor in your company that you're building. And I
Oh,
love
that's
that. I
good.
love that. I love that because it gives your 9 to 5 purpose. It doesn't say, oh, you're a 9 to 5 person. It's like, no, I am exchanging some time over here for the finances to help put into this thing I'm building over here. And I think every creative should look at it that way because every creative probably or that isn't a full-time creative has a job of some sort,
Yeah.
right? And I think they should think of the purpose of that as to help them fund their creative pursuit. And as you grow things, you'll be able to put more money and time into it. And I think that's the first understanding is you require some kind of finances to build anything. So understand that nothing is free. You have to invest in yourself and invest in your passion. Have that understanding is the primary step. And from there, I would have them implement the thousand true fans framework. The thousand true fans theory is like, okay, I'm not trying to necessarily make a million fans. I'm trying to get one fan at a time that loves what I do until I have 1,000 of them that are willing to support me financially with my creativity, whatever my product is. And then from there, we just think about, okay, well, what are ways that I can acquire a fan? If you're a live musician, you can acquire fans at shows you perform. You can do stuff online. You can even do virtual concerts. You can do open mics. There's a number of ways you can get your exposure to your art, your creativity to different people. And by doing that, you just give them an opportunity to become your true fan. Say, hey, I really like your vibe, fan. Do you like what I'm doing? Hey, check this out. I have a text list that I just send people my newest stuff before I release it just to see how they like it. You know, you're offering that fan an opportunity to have something that other people don't get in
Yeah.
exchange for saying, hey, you're a fan of what I do. So now they've separated themselves from the general population of people who might listen to your stuff. And now that's one person that could potentially become a true fan. And you just keep doing that. You give fans opportunities. Sorry about that. Give them opportunities to segment themselves from the general population and just step up a little closer. Come sit by your campfire, right? Oh, this is a cool campfire. There's cool people around here. Let's just like hang out here and then give them opportunities to listen, contribute, and it has to give them something of value to have them step out of the group. It's like, hey, I have this new song nobody's heard. Do you want to listen to it? Cool. Join my text list or join my Facebook group or join my whatever. Give them something to join. And then from there, boom, now they're a member. They haven't made it to true fan yet, but now they're a member of something that is specific to your creativity. And then from there, it's just a process of gathering new fans into that community. And then from that, you just give them opportunities to support you further. And then that process works for any creative outlet. The tactics are different, but that process in general is the same. And so you just find out the different ways in which to gather new fans, and then you find out a different product to offer them. Whether, if you're a musician, it's music, or maybe a t-shirt, or, maybe it's a ticket to a concert. Those are different ways in which you can offer things to those groups. And then from there, it's just growing the group.
Wow. So first of all, I would be just taking notes on everything you just said because anyone who follows me on social media knows that I am not great at marketing myself. Like I don't know I can sell ice to Eskimos, but I can't get my head around myself. So
Mm.
I'll be taking all the notes. You've essentially just given me free marketing training session. Because but
Yeah.
But the reality is as well, a lot of what you're saying is mindset, right? So
Yep.
if you have something that you are proud of, something that you enjoy, something you think, you know what, I think other people are going to enjoy this. Be in the mindset of, okay, well, how, what's the process of getting those true fans? What's the process of starting the journey to have him, let's say, a thousand people who are willing to pay for what you do to turn it into a job? But
Yep.
even,
And
do you know what? Even if
I
you fall short of that, that
yep.
mindset itself on just how to tell the world, show the world what you do, whether you earn money from it or not, could be inconsequential if you don't want that, or if it's not
Yep.
major. But yeah, that
I think the biggest thing for an artist is to understand too, and this took me a long time to understand, is that creation has multiple sides to it. There's and this part most artists have down, they don't have a problem with it. The creation aspect, creating a product that's worth sharing. Like I think most artists that are dedicated to creating are actually really good at that. They create something that other people would actually like. Now the other side of that is the consumer. Like you have to be able to offer something to the consumer, and that's where most artists get hung up is they have to take themselves, you're done the creation part. Like take yourself out of that mindset. Now pretend you're the consumer. Why do they care? Like why
yeah,
should they care? Like what do you get? They have their own lives, they have their own kids, they have their own grocery lists, they have to go to their 9 to 5 job. Why should they take a second or out of their day to listen to what you're saying?
yeah,
Because they have their own lives. You're that for somebody else, right? So it's your job to offer something that seems valuable enough for them to break their routine, look at it and be like, I really like this. Thank you for offering it to me. I'm not annoyed by it. It was actually of value. And I actually want more of that. Thank you for offering that to me. Not
yeah,
like I'm annoyed. So you need to, if you craft your offer as much as you craft your product, you'll find success.
yeah. Wow. I don't think I have a terrible habit of when someone speaks passionately and empowered that I waffle and try to kind of expand on it. And I don't and it's something I'm really working on because I think that was pretty perfect. I think there's two things that need to come from this episode. One is I'm now going to bully you into setting up some kind of creative forum podcast thing, just a step by step. I don't know what it is, but I need to hear more. And also this is me officially breaking it to my stepdad. He's got to start giving me £100 a year, um, because yeah, he's going to be the first investor. No,
There
he's
you
the
go.
second investor because the 9 to 5 is the first investor.
There you go.
Oh, just like I'm gonna have to stop because right now this is just become incredibly uh, selfish because I just want to absorb more from you. It's
Yeah, definitely. I'm always
it
down for a round. I'm always down for a round two if the
uh
opportunity arises.
definitely, and I'll be there with my notebook again. That before before we wrap it up, tell us about so all of this, everything we spoke about the beginning, all of this kind of wealth of knowledge and information that you're holding and willing to partake on others. You've also got time for a not to start a not for profit. So what's that about?
So yep, and that kind of brings everything full circle, honestly, because I've done digital marketing, I've done consulting, and when I first started, I was like, well, I'll just create like an agency for artists. And the whole problem with that is artists don't have money.
Yeah.
Like, so how do they pay for the services? And I need to pay other people to provide services for the artist. And if there's no money, then I can't provide the services. So there was just a fatal flaw the whole time. And then I realized I was having some conversations with a legal friend, and I was asking about grants, and how can you get a grant for your own personal creativity? Because I was looking to like see if there's grants available for, doing different things with my music and different things like that. And she was like, well, for every one grant that exists for a person, there's like 100 that exists for a nonprofit. And I had the idea of a nonprofit in the back of my head for like a little bit of time. I was like, oh, it'd be cool to do charity type stuff. I like the idea of contributing some of my income to charitable causes. And so I was like, huh. So okay. And I immediately was like, yeah, well, one day I'll do a nonprofit. And then I was like, well, why one day? Like,
Yeah.
why exactly are you saying one day when you could do it right now? So, like, why are you not doing it right now? And I was like, huh. So I just was like, I guess I should start a nonprofit. And then the more I went into the rabbit hole and learned about it actually answered the main problem that I had with helping artists was where's the money come from?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, so now there's grants, there's sponsorships that corporations can give you, there's individual fundraising efforts, and all of that money can go into the artists to help them learn, educate them, create a learning platform on how to educate them on how they can grow their creative business. Something that's I've been working on, a little side project, is like try to utilize AI to give advice to artists. I That's a project that's very in its infancy, but I if I can get a grant to help build that out, I think that would be very cool because you basically can utilize all the information on the internet, boil it down, ask it a question, and it gives you specific advice.
Yeah.
I think that's very valuable. So that it's that type of stuff I want to utilize grant money to give directly to artists, to build product for artists, and then create an infrastructure in which artists can thrive inside of it. And the whole thing is it's a nonprofit. So the purpose of a nonprofit isn't to make profit, it's to make an impact.
Yeah.
And that's what got me. I'm like, so the goal is measured by how many people you help, not how much money you make. And for that, you get a tax break, so you don't have to pay taxes. So as a nonprofit, I'll have, 35% more money that would have been used for taxes that can feed right back into helping artists. So if I can create an infrastructure that actually is like self-sustainable, gets grant money in, gives money to artists, artists donate to the nonprofit, then I keep helping artists. I keep helping, and it just becomes this cyclical thing where if I build the nonprofit like a for profit, but it just doesn't have to pay taxes because it's a nonprofit, then I can fuel the profits back into the programs and it could be something that just keeps running. You know what I mean? So that's the ultimate big goal, is to utilize the nonprofit as a vehicle to help out artists, specifically using grant money and corporate sponsorships to fund the projects that artists need the most.
And what basically you came in with to a show called Jeff Jones and Friends Make It Better with a topic that essentially you've already put into place the actions of making it better. Like you're answering the question
Yeah, that's the
that
goal.
17-year-old you would have loved to have that
Yeah,
framework and support.
exactly. Exactly. So
Uh,
that's like the thing that really brings it home for me just in life in general, is like, wow, so sometimes you wish something existed, right? You're like, man, why not? It'd be really cool if this. And I think that's like the whisper in your ear for the thing that you want to do.
yeah.
Like if it doesn't exist, maybe it should. And if you're the one that sees it, maybe you're the one that's supposed to do it. You know what I mean? And I think that I read this book called Big Magic, and it was crazy because it was like at one point Michael Jackson, he used to call his music producer like 3 o'clock in the morning, and he'd be like, "Man, I have this idea for a new song. I have to make it." He's like, "Mike, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. What do you mean?" He's like, "No, I have to make it right now because if I don't make it, Prince is gonna make it." And it's like, what? So it's like he had the idea of that, like creativity and inspiration is like a spirit that jumps from person to person. It might hit you, and I know you've probably had this this feeling before where you had an idea about this product of some sort, and you're like, "Ah, that's a good idea. I should definitely do that." Then you didn't do it, and then later on, you saw it successful on TV,
Yeah.
and you're like, and you're like, oh man, I made that idea. I had that idea a long time ago. It's like, yeah, but you didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So it left you and went to
I went
somebody
to
else.
someone
And I
else.
and I love that concept because it really inspires you to take action, because ideas aren't biased. They're like, hey, here I am, and where do ideas come from? Where do dreams come from? Who knows? But that's a whole different podcast. But I think that people get struck with inspiration, and it's for them to take action to continue the flow of inspiration. If you don't take action, inspiration will leave you and go to somebody who will take action.
There you go. That's the end of the show. Like, I'm not. that's I have nothing. I have nothing to add. Um, yeah. Okay. It doesn't happen that often when I get a bit speechless and lost how to kind of carry on a section or a segue to another bit. So I'm not gonna try. Just I mean that this whole thing, I never know how these conversations are going to go. Like my
Mm,
pre-prep is very minimal because I just want the guest to tell the story or
mm,
to their experience, which is why we're making something better. And we've covered everything from cinema to PTSD to
mm,
speech and language therapy and homeless people to missing socks. Like
mm.
this is a great thing about kind of people and communicating, is that everyone's got something to say, and some people want to share and open up and others don't. But it's not often that people kind of come on and not only do I think we entertain, but we learn. And I know, kind of, you're already putting it out there. Like it's like
Mm.
everything you said is kind of like the spirit of what this show's about. It's not
Nice.
just talking about it. It's, oh, I could, one day I'll do a not for, I'll start a not for, wait, why not, why one day and why not today? Um, I know it's been fantastic.
Mm.
I'm going to get you on again. You're going to be the top of my contact list now whenever I have anything that I'm struggling with, because you're now my new guru. So sorry about that. You've opened yourself a big old can of worms there.
Perfect. Love it. Love it.
But just the by this time the music will be playing. Please, tell us where everyone can find you.
So on social media, it's Jeristotle. And you can also find me at jeristotle.com. And feel free to DM me about anything. I love talking to everybody. I love talking to people. I'm happy to have these kind of conversations. Like, my goal with being on podcasts is to have the most interesting conversations possible. And I think that podcast hosts specifically are also interested in that. And it's just, bringing two interested parties together is one of the best ways to make something happen. So I appreciate you for hosting and facilitating this
No,
conversation.
no, this has been 100% my pleasure, and thank you for coming on. Not only with the great story, the great I know, just the energy and everything. Like, I can't thank you enough.
No, this is
Um,
awesome.
so I'm not going to try. So I'm going to go. No, thank you, and again, thank you. And I'm kind of struggling for superlatives. I'm struggling to kind of put into it. So I am gonna, before I make myself sound just like a complete starstruck idiot, I'm gonna say, uh, thank you everyone for listening. Find all things Jeff Jones and Friends, make it better on YouTube and Spotify and all that kind of, Apple, whatever, wherever you find and consume your media, you'll probably find me. Um, Thank you for listening. Join me next time. Jeristotle, thank you so much. This has been, I think, what I needed.
Oh, excellent.
And I think there's a
Excellent.
lot of people who will need it as well.
Awesome. It's been my pleasure.
No, thank you. So it's goodbye from me, your host, Jeff Jones, and it's goodbye from Jeristotle. Say goodbye, Jeristotle.
Peace.